What's up, folks? Today we're going to be talking about the 4 levels of cold email personalization. Good personalization is going to get the reader to pay attention and consume your entire message because they feel like that message is for them. So let's get started with the most basic level of personalization. Things like title, industry, company size. Hey, I saw that you're the VP of marketing at company. We work with titles in the industry. There are often elements that you might be using to build your lead list. And that means they can be relevant as to why you've reached out, but they can also be very easily automated. They're like the fields that are already in your CRM. So yes, while it's important to use these for good targeting, they don't necessarily stand out to the prospect anyway because they're often very basic information that anyone can find. And because prospects get a lot of these emails, they recognize these automated patterns and often stop paying attention when they see it. Level 2, irrelevant personalization. So this is where you do bring in something personalized about the prospect into the email, but it doesn't tie into the wider message. This is probably the most common mistake I see sellers making with personalization. The seller either spots something on LinkedIn or Twitter or on their website, or maybe they use one of those AI tools to scrape this information. They mention it up front, kind of tick the box and say the email is personalized, but then fail to segue into the remainder of the message so it doesn't end up answering the question, why have you reached out? Things like, hey, I saw you attended this school, or I saw you attended this event, or I saw that you liked Will Akin's post on LinkedIn. But then they follow up with something that's completely unrelated. So they start talking about a problem or challenge, or they just go straight into a pitch telling them about their solution. This might work from time to time, but any prospect who's being hit up a lot will brush this information off because, as I said, it's irrelevant. The third type of personalization is creative personalization. So this is when you observe something about the prospect and then stretch it to try and connect it to the reason why you're reaching out. Now, these can be quite fun, they're quite creative, they can stand out, but they're not gonna be everyone's cup of tea. You might jump onto one of your prospects' social media profiles, or look at their company website, or look for company updates. Find something unique about them or their company, and then tie that thing and weave it into your value prop. Let's say that you sell Asana. It's a project management software that helps team leaders delegate tasks, manage and track projects. You're reaching out to a manager who you happen to have noticed is also a part-time dog trainer. Your creatively personalized email could be subject line, unleash organization. Hi recipient, as a dog trainer, you understand the art of leading a pack to success. Imagine also applying those skills to manage your team with project management software. Asana can help you allocate tasks and fetch project reports effortlessly. Does this get your tail wagging? Best will. It's a little bit corny, but it's creative, it's different, it's going to interrupt the pan for some people. Others are going to think it's chewy as heck and probably ignore it. Dog training, ice hole fishing, or supporting the Toronto Raptors isn't always going to connect very easily to project management software. And that brings us onto the final level of personalization, which I call relevant business personalization. This type of personalization isn't about them or their dog training habits. Not to say that you can't include a little bit of personal personalization in there to elevate your message. You could put PS, saw you've got a couple of Cocker Spaniels. I used to have a bunch when I was younger. Hope they're not running you too ragged right now. That's thoughtful, it's a little add-on, but it's not the reason why you're reaching out. Relevant business personalization is answering that exact question. Here's why I think you might be facing the problem or challenge that our solution can help solve. You find an observation, either while you're searching for leads or by doing research on each of the companies you're reaching out to, that makes a logical sense for why a business might be more likely to be facing a challenge or looking for a solution like yours. Think of it like you're acting as a doctor. You're looking for signals or symptoms that an infection may be present, catalysts that increase the severity or frequency at which the problems that you could help solve occur. By using these in your outreach, you're one, going to get their attention because you've done your research, but two, you're going to immediately answer that question for why it is you've reached out to them. And then you can segue into a connected problem that they might not be thinking about, or they might be thinking about it, but they don't know there's a solution available to solve it yet. I'm going to rattle off a couple of examples of what these symptoms, these catalysts, often called triggers, might look like. Company headcount increase, company headcount decrease, job openings and hiring announcements, bad product reviews, bad employee reviews, company relocation, geographic expansion, event attendance, company performance, website updates, rebrands, bad press, IPOs, acquisitions, mergers, their tech stack, they've had leadership changes, launching or making changes to products, they've received some funding or investment, there's new legislation that's going to affect them, they showed some level of intent or interest in your company, downloaded a white paper, attended a webinar, or you might just start working with a competitor or an adjacent company to theirs. Now, a few of these things are going to sound familiar to the second level of personalization that we spoke about. The key to making these work is being able to segue them into a hypothesis of a problem they might be facing because of what you've observed. It's about how you use those observations, making them relevant to the rest of the message by connecting them to a logical problem or challenge that that observation might create. Now, you can't just use all of the things I just mentioned as potential observations. It's about knowing which ones are most likely to make someone interested in your product or facing a challenge or problem you can help with. Take a look at customers who have bought from you or shown interest in you in the past and figure out what changes were happening within those accounts that made them more likely to need your product. Basically, only mention these things if you can clearly connect them to a problem that you're positioned to solve. Simple framework to apply these observations is, I saw this about you. Because of that, I thought this could be a problem for you. We can help solve that. Does this sound interesting? The more nuanced or hidden the observation is, the more likely you're going to get someone's attention. If you've looked at someone's year-end report, then that's going to get their attention a lot more than just saying, hey, I saw that you're hiring people right now. Being specific in these personalizations is also important. The depth at which you go down that rabbit hole is ultimately a balancing act. If you've got tens of thousands of customers in your market, then you can spend less than 5 minutes looking at each prospect. Meanwhile, if you're only selling to Fortune 100 companies, you're going to not want to waste that opportunity, and you're going to want to do a lot more research on each of the prospects. Happy personalizing, sellers.